channel, and today I'm talking about the top 5 apps to use to track your seizure patterns. So these are the top 5 apps that I think, from my perspective, are the best to use whenever you're trying to figure out what your triggers are, what the patterns are, the distribution, the weekly patterns, daily patterns, yearly patterns. And these are apps that I have used myself as someone who has seizures. So these are not apps that are used to detect seizures, but just apps that are used to basically journal them and then create charts for you to track your patterns. So let's get started. Number 5 is an app called Seizure Tracker. Literally, when you first get on Seizure Tracker, you can click a button on the bottom right screen that allows you to film a seizure, and then it adds it to the app, and then you can add more details about the seizure that you have the film of to the app. So you can add details such as the time with minutes or seconds to the app. You can add postictal and preictal descriptions. You can add your own notes. You can add a trigger that it might have been, the location you were at, the mood you were in, the type of seizure that it was, and your own notes. And it can be used by either iPhone or Android. And then after you have all the seizures that you want to graph, although you can't see the graph pattern, like the patterns graphed within the app, you can create an account and then you can go to the website and it will graph everything for you, and then you can share the graph with your doctor, neurologist, epileptologist, whoever you want to share it with. And although this function seems very helpful, whenever I tried to graph my seizures, it did not add any of my seizures to the graph. And it's supposed to graph everything by either days, weeks, months, and years, by seizure type, trigger, time, length of seizures, location, etc. But that function, at least for me, didn't seem to work at all. So that's why it's number 5. So number 4 is an app called SEIZARIO. So this is number 4 because it does have a detection function, and the detection function is based on phone drop. So you can change the sensitivity of the phone drop to ultra high all the way down to ultra low. So there's lots of different sensitivities. So if you have a different case or something, you can change the sensitivity, and you can even turn it off. So if you're going to be doing an activity where you don't want it to go off, and you can also change or put in as many emergency contacts as you want. You can also change the function if you want it to wait longer until you pick it up for it to alert all of your emergency contacts. You can change that as well. I know I said I wasn't going to be doing any detection reviews, but this just happens to be a tracking app as long as having a detection function. And I think the detection function also is supposed to work with watches, Apple Watches, as well as Android watches. So that's just a good plus. And it also has a journaling function in the app as well. So just like the app that we talked about before, it does not have a medication reminder in the app at all. And it can work with iPhone or Android. But whenever we're talking about journaling and graphing patterns and with seizures, it's basically just like writing it down, just a little bit easier because it's in a phone. But you can put down your seizures with minutes and seconds. You can write down triggers and everything, but it doesn't graph patterns or anything for you. It's basically just like writing things down in a journal, just a little bit easier. So that's why it's number 4. It's number 4 because it has that detection function that does work, but it's with a phone drop. And the reason I'm not doing detection or reviewing detection things right now is because I can't really test it because I have been seizure free for 24 days. But I can drop my phone and tell you if that works. So that could be helpful. So if you carry around your phone all the time and you do fall, then, that can be helpful. But it's not going to work 100% of the time if you're not carrying your phone 100% of the time. So who knows, it could save your life. So that's number 4, SEIZARIO. Number 3 is an app called SEER. So this is the first one that I started using, and I thought it was amazing. I think the look is really nice. It looks very sleek. It's red and like a white color, and it doesn't have any detection functions or anything like that, but it does have a really nice pattern graph and a really nice way to enter your seizures. You can enter your seizures with minutes and seconds. And it also reminds you to take your medication. So you can put in all the medications that you take, how often you take them, how long you will be taking them, how long you have taken them, and it reminds you to take them, and you can do a daily check-in, what mood you're in, how likely you think it will be that you'll have a seizure. And you can also use this app for other things other than seizures. So if you have TIAs or if you have cardiac issues, so any type of events that you have, you can use this for and track your patterns with. So after you put in all of your events or all of your seizures, it tracks a pattern, or it makes a graph for you, and you can track your seizures based on, it doesn't allow you to put in the type of seizure exactly, but you can put in if you think it was a big or small seizure. And I think that's the reason that you can use it with other things, because it basically just asks if it was big or small, if you were aware or unaware, if there was movement or no movement. And then it creates the graph for you, and you can see the graph based on days, weeks, months, or years. And unfortunately, it doesn't allow you to track it with triggers. For some reason, it allows you to put in notes, but each seizure. But whenever you're looking at the graph, it doesn't let you see the notes, and it doesn't graph them based on triggers or seizure times or anything like that, or location, or any of those other things that it asks you for. So it asks you for, or to do check-ins and ask you for your mood. So whenever it shows you the graph and the pattern, it doesn't show those things on the graph. So I really don't understand that. So the main reason that I'm giving this number 3 is because it's just very easy to use. And there is also a companion button that it has, but I haven't seen very good reviews on that for it working well. So the companion button is a button that you can get where you can just press the button and it will record the seizure that you're having, like the time of it. And if you just have to be close to your phone, and the app has to be open. So from what I've seen, they're trying to make this work better, because the last reviews that I've seen were just a couple weeks ago. So that's why I'm giving this a number 3. It's because the company that makes this app seems to be still bettering this app, and it's very easy to use. It reminds you of your medications, and it graphs your patterns, and it's easy to see. So that's number 3 is SEER, SEER. 2 is an app called Seizure Diary. So Seizure Diary is an app that is specifically for graphing your patterns, and you can also videotape seizures and add them to the app. And you can also share your seizure history with others via that app. So you can share it with your doctors or family members, caretakers, whomever you choose to share it with, you can share it via the app. So that can be helpful. And you can track seizures in the app, and you can track the seizure based on pretty much anything, based on day, week, year, month, length of seizure, aura, postictal symptoms, what trigger it was. And you can also add different triggers or symptoms or postictal symptoms or pretty much anything. You can specialize in the app, and then it will graph it by that for you, which is something I haven't seen in other apps like this. I haven't seen any other apps allow you to add something such as a trigger or a seizure type or anything like that this app does. One downfall to this is whenever I was adding triggers to seizures that I wanted to graph, kept getting my triggers especially wrong. So for instance, I added stress as a trigger to one of my seizures, well, a few of them, because I wanted to graph it to test it out. And it kept adding smell as a trigger instead of stress, which is random because smell wasn't even on my list of triggers that I added. So I don't know what that glitch is, but it wasn't really working out for me. But no other trigger except for stress wasn't working, so maybe it'll work well for most other people, but that one trigger wasn't really working out for me. There's also a place in the app where it literally just explains what epilepsy is, which I think is really helpful for a lot of people. So I clicked on it and it just explained what all the different types of seizures were, what epilepsy was, and what auras were, what postictal, preictal, just like what all the different terms were. And I thought that that was extremely helpful. And for someone getting that app that maybe doesn't know a lot about epilepsy, that is very helpful. And I thought that was a really good idea, a really smart idea for someone whoever created that app or developed that app. And at the top of the screen in the app, it tells you how long it has been since your last seizure. And I thought that was a really positive thing to put in an app for someone who has seizures. You just look at the top of the app and you're like, oh, it's been that long since I've had the last seizure. And for me, looking at the top of the app, well, last time I looked at it, it said 24 days and 8 hours and 13 minutes or something. And I was like, awesome. So for me, that was neat to see that. So, because sometimes you forget that it's been that long. And sometimes with seizures, a lot of times it feels like it was just yesterday. But it was a lot longer than I thought it had been. So it was a really nice reminder. And unfortunately, in this app, there is not a medication reminder. I would have to double check that. I think you can put in your medications, but I don't think it reminds you to take them. But I think you can put in what medications you're taking. But I would have to double check that. I think the graphing part of it is really good, and that's why it's number 2. And that again is called Seizure Diary. So the number one app that I think is best for tracking seizures and seizure patterns is definitely Epilepsy Journal. So you can track literally everything in this app with VNS usage, rescue medicine usage. You can track trends with seizure types, triggers, the location you were at when you had seizures, frequency, distribution of seizures, where you were when you had it. And it also reminds you of the medicine that you're taking and when you should take it, unlike the last app. So the last app was really good for graphing, but it didn't have the medicine reminder. I have to double check on that. But this one does. And this one also tracks everything that you could ever want to track your seizures by. And the graphs are really easy to use. And they're really easy to understand as well. And it allows you to put in seizures with minutes and seconds, and allows you to put in triggers. So it already has a really good list of triggers and seizure types and postictal and preictal symptoms, but you can specialize things just like the last app could. You can specialize things and put in your own, and it will graph it by your own special thing that you might have that the app doesn't have. So you can go into settings and type in your own triggers or your own preictal aura, or your own postictal symptoms, and it will graph it by that. So with all of these helpful functions and just being so easy to use and read and understand, I'm actually going to be using this app a lot more often, just because it's helped me so much be able to understand what my triggers actually are and what it is that I need to stay away from, where I need to stay away from, that I need to stop drinking coffee as much, because the way that the graphs show you things, it shows you, okay, so you had a tonic-clonic this percentage of the time, and then you can go to your seizures, and then it shows you the percentage of the time that you had the tonic-clonic, you were at this location, or you had this trigger. So you can stay away from those triggers and then hopefully stay away from that. So just knowing your triggers is so important, and using these apps, I hope they really help you. And if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up and a subscription, and I will keep giving you videos like these to help you. Joining me in this video today, and I will see you guys in the next video.